wrestling kids and the millions listening live around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready for the round table.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Roundtable Wrestling, our first ever live show. For those of you who were tuned into us about a half hour ago, we apologize for all those technical difficulties. But we're going to kick right back into it and entertain y'all as only we can. I am your moderator for this week, as well as one of your esteemed hosts, Keith the Wildman Miller. And I am joined once again by my brothers in arms, Brent the Nightmare Ward.
Hello, everyone.
And Pablo Kino Aquino.
Oh, hi. How you doing?
All right, so let's kick things right off with the news. Brent, what do we got going on over in the WWE on SmackDown and Raw?
Well, not a whole lot this week, but a couple important things. Rhea Ripley signs a new 5-year contract.
Yeah, and that gives them plenty of time to work on her character, because as much as it hurts me to say it, she's kind of like a anime cliche at this point. You know, running around making cute faces and showing her butt. She's still putting on good matches, but what they're doing with her on TV is kind of boring me a little bit.
The whole muscle mommy thing, yeah.
Yeah, just kind of over it at this point.
Well, yeah, it's been a whole gimmick, and for the last year or so, I don't even know how long this has been going, where it's been her and Dom, and now hopefully she can get it off of this, because it kind of makes her look like a buffoon a little bit.
Yeah,
if I'm being
definitely.
honest, I'd rather her, be taken seriously and actually wrestling women and actually wrestling well, instead of just like beating up a security guard here and there and then having some messed up finish where she ends up losing, but still looking strong.
Yeah.
A loser's a loser.
Yeah. And I still think that as far as in-ring work, I still think she's probably the best wrestler in the world. That's just my opinion. But her character is just leaving me cold lately. I just can't get into it anymore. So
yeah, I agree. She is one of the best in the world, and I hope that they can take this and fix her to where she can be where she was before. Because before all this Dom crap, she was outstanding.
I mean, I'd like to just see her go back to being like a punk rock killer.
Yeah.
Like I loved her character in NXT. Why couldn't they have just done that?
Right. That's what I'm saying. Keep it cool and natural, and let her do her thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
She still kind of occupies that headspace, though, as far as, being, she's kind of an emo looking bruiser.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it was just that there wasn't any competition that was ready for her. And maybe they wanted to hide that behind her doing this whole gimmick with Dom, to where it gave her a reason to be on TV, but not necessarily digging or beating up on the women that are already on the roster and giving them a chance, because Bianca's probably the best person I could think of aside from Charlotte to beat her. And she's kind of stuck doing this whole tag team with Jade, which is pretty much just, it's like a chaperone and some kid that's just kind of feeling things out right now.
Yeah, once Charlotte was gone, like the idea of her having competitive matches without chicanery, kind of disappeared. So,
for sure.
Good word right there.
yeah. All right, what
Let's
do we got
go.
next, brother?
CM Punk taking leave from the WWE.
Well, like I said before the technical difficulties, I feel like this shows that 40-year-old men should not be competing in Hell in a Cells. Um, Drew McIntyre and CM Punk both walked out of that match in really, really bad shape. And
Yeah.
no matter what the entertainment factor was, um, it definitely contributed. I mean, it's the reason Drew's not going to be wrestling for a while. Like his head was insane. He had to get staples in his skull.
Oof.
Quite a
Yeah,
few.
yeah, yeah,
Quite a few.
yeah,
As somebody who's had that same thing, it's a scary thing. But it
yeah.
makes me wonder if that whole CM Punk at the end of the match needing when he needed oxygen, is that what they brought him? Or he was
Right. Yeah, yeah. They brought him oxygen
Yeah.
because
did
he
he
couldn't
lose too
stay up.
much blood, or is it just that he was it
Yeah,
makes it seem as if it was more of a work and kind of like
right.
dramatize.
Right.
It was hard because at first I thought it was comical, but then at the same time, as someone who's seen a person faint, that is
Hmm.
kind of what happens. Like 1 second, they're like pretty much upright and doing their thing, and then the next second they're just sideways.
Yeah.
They just drop. It's like a really uh I don't know. You know what I mean? I also really love Dick Van Dyke, so I was kind of like, is it physical comedy? Is he actually fainting? It's wrestling, man, so we'll probably never know, you know?
I feel as if he's known for doing those things. Like when he went out for with MJF during AEW, and MJF had that promo about how CM Punk said it was just another Friday
Yeah.
when he met MJF, and MJF was talking about how much it mean to him, and then CM Punk came out and he was like, "Is it true?" Like he made sure people were watching him on the camera, and like he was
Yeah.
mouthing it. So it makes me feel like most of the things he does is doing up. Like I feel like his pipe bomb and him leaving for as long as he did just was exactly as according to plan. So everything
Yeah.
everything I see him do, I'm just wondering, it's probably is planned. It probably
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
just that he wants to take some time and hang out with Larry and AJ. That's just pretty much what
Yeah.
it
Like
is. Like
Yeah. But I mean,
this.
even that,
Oh,
even the oxygen thing, I do think 100% it was a work.
yeah.
he's been off 80% of the year.
Yeah. Yeah. The whole time he's been under contract. Like, that's why it seems like he's been doing this thing with Drew forever.
Mm-hmm.
Because he took so much time off in between the first match and the next one. I mean, he's just like, I get that. Or did they even have a match before he took time
He
off? Were they just screwing with each other and then he got hurt and then they finally had a match? Is that how it went?
the only thing that I can think of is he finally got the contract that he wanted, that Brock Lesnar type contract
Yeah,
that he
man.
cried over years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I'm a
that seems
huge
about
CM
right.
Punk fan. My wife is too. But,
Right.
you know, a whiner's a whiner.
Yeah. And the one thing that you could say about CM Punk is, as far as his fans are concerned, every single time he comes back, it's a massive thing.
Yeah, it's a big
You know,
ordeal.
yeah. So let's say that he stays on the shelf until Royal Rumble. When he comes back for the Royal Rumble, the fans are going to lose it.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to, or even if like, I mean, being off until Survivor Series would seem silly. That's just a few weeks.
Yeah.
But let's just say, even if it is Survivor Series, they'll be like, "Oh, we haven't seen CM Punk in 6 weeks," and they'll lose their minds. So
Well, that's
I
the
think
thing.
he plays the game. You know what I mean? I think he
Yeah.
knows how to get the reactions. I mean, that's
So here's the thing, right? Absence makes the heart grow fonder. I think he understands that it's an oversaturation. Like we were getting too much of CM Punk after a while.
Mhm.
Even with him being gone because of the tricep and all of that, and us knowing that it was really going to be Punk winning the Rumble and not Cody for the second time in a row.
Right.
The
Right.
fact that there was all of this hoopla about him just for him to go and do this very big, very eventful, viral feud with Drew. I would definitely say that
Yeah.
this is one of the more viral feuds,
Oh
especially
yeah,
Yeah.
for
for
a
sure.
WWE. And WWE's
Yeah.
now just starting, it looks like, especially with the whole we're going to get to the Kevin Owen things, but as far
Right.
as incorporating social media and incorporating like behind the scenes videos and stuff like that, and Drew went into his own pocket and pretty much made a feud with CM Punk to kind of make up. I suppose this was more making up for him injuring Punk by giving him
Yeah. Could be.
something to
Yeah.
run with, but I think both of them need some time off, and we can do without seeing them for a bit. And yeah, you're right
Right.
about the whole CM Punk thing. I do feel as if he's going to be back for the Rumble, if not whatever is taking place of an Elimination Chamber.
Mm. If I was him, I would say I didn't want to do
Obviously,
Elimination Chamber.
obviously, at some point, he's going to have to do something to prepare him for WrestleMania. But
Yeah.
Right.
it'll be interesting where to go. I still have him winning the Rumble.
Yeah. I mean, he
I
could.
could see that. I could see that.
I'd like to see Drew win the Rumble, but
That would be sweet
I
if Drew
still
would.
I'm calling that it's Punk and Drew last ones in the Rumble.
I want
yeah.
Braun Breaker to win the Royal Rumble.
Oh, that'd be nice too. Yeah.
It'd be nice, but he would do it in a losing effort though.
Yeah, I don't I don't see him winning it, but it'd be nice if he did.
Yeah.
Mhm. What's what else
What
you
do we got
got?
next? Yeah.
Penelope Ford returns to AEW.
Man. So, for those of you who don't know the backstory on this whole thing, like, first of all, Penelope Ford trained out at CZW, worked really hard on the East Coast, made her way to AEW. Really talented girl. A lot of people might think that it was her connection to Joey Janela, but to be completely honest, Penelope Ford is probably better than Joey Janela.
Oh, way
Um,
better.
yeah. So for her to get an injury, and then while she was injured, she got pregnant, and then she lost the baby. um 8 weeks into the pregnancy, and she was gone for 2 years, like recovering from the injury and recovering from that loss. And for AEW to bring her back and to put her into such a high profile thing where she's going to be feuding with Jamie Hayter, and she screwed up the world title #1 contender gimmick. I
Hmm.
mean, I think it's awesome. I think it shows that they still have a lot of faith in Penelope. She's always been able to get over. So personally, I'm glad she's back. I'm glad they threw her right into the mix, and I'm looking for her to do cool stuff. Hopefully, AEW gives her a story that she can really sink her teeth into.
Yeah, it would be nice if they give her something. I don't know how it's going to look considering she's facing somebody who is also coming back from
Right.
a hiatus, who also was on top of the world when she left. Wasn't she the champion at the time?
I think so.
I believe so. Yeah.
Something like that,
Yeah.
yeah. But Penelope, yeah, this is her first time since I think she had a tune-up match on Elevation. She actually beat a Heather Reckless that night
Oh, I bet that match was good.
by submission. Yeah, it was I imagine it was, Heather Reckless
Yeah.
of TNA now, but I'm hoping for the best for her. I just don't know if I like the pairing of just returning Jamie Hayter and a
Hmm.
just returning
Just for,
Penelope Ford, who looks like what she chased Hayter with a steel chair during that #1 contenders match or something. And
yeah.
so I suppose it's going to take both of them away from any sort of hardware,
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
which I
for
think
sure.
there needs to be some more contenders in the AEW women's division popping out,
Sure.
because right now it's very looks very bare bones in
Willow ended up
comparison
winning
to
that match,
everything
right?
else. Yep, it's gonna be her.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I like Willow.
Oh yeah.
She's
She's good.
She's great.
Yeah, she's really good at connecting with the crowd. So I'm sure that the crowd is going to be hot for her and Mariah May.
Oh yeah.
So,
Oh yeah.
so that's probably a
But
good choice, you know.
but as far as Penelope Ford goes, I'm glad she's back. Like I said, she's very talented. Um, I don't know where this is going to go for her after the Jamie Hayter thing, but we'll find out. And I think that she should be give her 6 months. I say she'll be in the title hunt for whoever's champion. And if it's Mariah May, that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Well, she did it on Title Tuesday,
Yeah.
so I feel like this
Right.
does mean that she's going to. I don't imagine in a winning effort, but she looks great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like
you
She's
can tell
always been
coming
in
she's
back
really
from
good
that.
shape. Yeah.
Oh yeah, she was always when she was back wrestling indies and she CCW. She always in shape, but like she's
Yeah.
beautiful and like the fact that
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
she's
She looks like a freaking model,
flexible,
dude.
athletic, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
imagine she was, or she
Yeah.
probably still is, but yeah,
Right.
we wish her the best, and I hope that she finds a way to make something come up because I don't think the writers are doing any justice to those ladies out there.
no, not at
Unfortunately,
all.
yeah. Yeah.
So let's see. We'll see.
All
Anything
right. Where are
else?
we
So
going? Yeah.
Josh Alexander's new faction, the
E-
434, or what I've been told is they're called the North Armory.
The North Armory.
Armory. Yeah, it's
Northern,
kind of odd.
Yeah.
they mentioned they're called the Northern Armory, which
Yeah,
I
Northern
would rather
Army.
them just be
Armory.
called the Armory, but obviously they're doing he's bringing ode to
Taking
the
a dig
North
at,
because
Yeah.
Mhm. all
I'm
three of
waiting
them
for
are Canadian as well. So
I'm waiting for Jon Snow to make a special appearance.
indeed.
to Jon
The
Snow,
ladies go crazy for Kit. What's his face?
Kit Harrington.
Yeah, Kit Harington. Um,
Oh man,
yeah, I
I think
mean,
well, this is the thing, right? I'll mention about this faction because I'm the resident TNA nerd, I
TNA
guess.
guy. Yeah,
Yep. Resident TNA guy here. Not too much on this. I'm not going to bring back any PTSD to anybody who was listening to the second episode where it's just nothing but TNA at some point. But we get the reference. But
yeah,
Eric Young was pretty much talking to Josh Alexander. He said, you have it, but you still haven't gotten, you know, to the top. You're missing something. And it was actually something where it was already written in the stars, kind of. They had a vignette, or it was a you know behind the scenes where Sinner and Saint, which I believe is what they're called,
right.
the other two, Travis Williams and Icarus,
Yep.
Judas Icarus, I believe. Yeah. So
Is that
Judas.
Icarus from Shikara? No, Icarus from Shikara was Vin Gerard. Sorry. Go ahead.
no, this is Judas Icarus and Travis Williams. Yeah, they're Canadian,
Gotcha.
and it's funny because they give me the same similar vibe of another team. We'll get back to that, but pretty
Okay.
much Josh Alexander went to them. He's like, you're good, but I think you're missing
I can,
something, and it lit a fire under their butts because you could tell when they came out to help Josh Alexander, and the whole shock of, oh, they're together now.
yeah,
They were pretty intense, and I feel like that's what they were missing. But those two really do remind me of the North, like young Ethan Page and Josh Alexander. Just looking at those
yeah.
two, they look like a spitting image of them, but just
Yes.
more green. So I
Nice.
think
Nice.
the Northern Armory, I think it's really just a way to keep Josh Alexander winning because he's been on a losing streak kind
Oh,
of
for
ever
sure. Yeah.
since
Yeah.
he lost the title and all of that. So I'd say, kudos. I hope it does well. I feel like it's more of a uplifter to the other two and just
Of
kind
course.
of making him seem like that dastardly heel instead of the chaotic, like like I was talking about him before, he's just straight chaos. Now it seems more like intentional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's good. I'm hoping. I hope for the
I
best.
I think that it's going to be good for them because it's going to keep them relevant for a while. So, some new story in there. And I really like Josh Alexander. He is a really good wrestler, and the guy, he's giving his flowers because he's been taking losses like a champ, and
Right.
Mm.
he makes it look good, and he makes other people look good too.
For sure.
Yeah, like he lost the Iron Man match to Nick Nemeth, and it was an amazing one too. But after that, losing to Joe Hendry, you know,
Right.
so they were trying to figure out, or kind of having this whole aura of, oh, you're really losing you're losing your tiger that's losing his stripes. You're not looking as scary anymore and all of that. So I do understand, or I like this dynamic that they have right now, where it keeps him looking strong without him having to do as much anymore.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Because he doesn't have to prove himself anymore in the ring. Everybody knows what he can do in the ring. He's been doing it for the last however many years. He's putting on classics, and he can take a little bit of time to be that dastardly boss heel, and he looks good as a front man with lackeys behind him, man. He doesn't
Hmm.
Yeah.
just have to be
I agree.
that grit your teeth with the headgear and all of that.
Headgear.
Like he
Yeah.
can just sit back
Yeah.
and maybe wear a suit, like I think he had a good professionalism. He looks like a hitman, like I think,
He kind of does. Yeah.
Yeah.
and he's definitely somebody who's rebranded himself to being way more believable. So
Definitely.
shout out to him. But I wish you the best in such a faction heavy wrestling community and wrestling scene. Get yourself one
Yeah. Like
and
factions. So
show that keep yourself on top.
definitely. Yeah. I mean, to be completely honest, I love Josh Alexander. I have for a long time. I liked him when he had the big mustache and was doing comedy wrestling, to be honest. Um, so anything that's keeping him in the spotlight and keeping people interested in what he's doing, I'm all for. I don't
Hmm.
get TNA, so my TNA news basically comes from you guys more than anything. But I'm glad that Josh Alexander's that they're giving him something to do. If they're going to keep him away from the heavyweight title for a while, at least they're giving him something to do that's keeping him on TV, that's showing that he's knowledgeable because he's honestly one of the best trainers in wrestling. If you look at his kids, they're all so good. Um,
Hmm.
Yeah.
so so it plays off what he's actually out there doing. You know what I mean? He really is creating kids, like turning them into stars. So so I dig it. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, it looks like he can. It looks like he can do it with these guys, and they had this tenacity about them. They were,
Yeah,
Hmm.
they're leaning into it. It looks like, and his first feud is with Eric Young and Steve Macklin. So
nice.
those two against those young guys, Sinner and Saint. I
Yeah,
think
Yeah.
they can produce some good, and it'll be nice. Obviously, we'll have some shenanigans with Josh Alexander that'll give the young guys a win sometimes. The old guys will get
right.
maybe a couple pinfalls here and there. So everybody wins in this situation. You keep these older guys relevant while bringing up your young guys,
Hmm.
Yeah,
which you
I'm all
should
for
do.
it, man.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Tony D'Angelo defeats Oba Femi
Yes.
to win the North American title.
That
After he
match was
beat.
so good, so
It was.
competitive. Um, Obafemi really came off like a heel, which I've
Yeah.
never seen him do before. He like when he shoved the family down and Rizzo went down, uh he literally was just like, "Hey, I didn't touch her. I didn't touch her." There was no apology. There was no like attempt to help her up.
Right.
And then man, Tony D'Angelo just turned it on. Like he did moves that were quick and sudden. Like he just that's the best Tony D'Angelo I've ever seen.
For sure. For sure.
And yeah, I
Yeah.
loved the match. I like the idea of turning. I mean, I don't know, because in TN or in NXT, the line between babyface and heel are sort of blurred, you know.
Yeah.
But Obafemi definitely came off as a heel in that match. Like, he came off very like almost slimy, you know. I wasn't expecting it, but it was good.
Right. And he's a
Cool.
monster too.
Yeah.
Shout out to pro indie wrestler Dominus Muskie for tuning in on the show.
Oh, hey,
Shout out to you.
welcome, brother.
But yeah,
So,
Oba, you know, he's just a brute. The guy can, and he's a good worker. I think his promos could be a lot better, but he's learning and he'll get it down. You know, it takes a while sometimes for these guys to figure out where they fit in. But as far as power goes, I don't think there's a guy in NXT besides maybe Ridge Holland who's as strong as that guy.
Yeah, yeah,
I think that this win got two things out of the way. And two very important things, right? So one, it's obviously a thank you to Tony D'Angelo. You know, I'm pretty sure aside from the Heritage Cup that he won one time and then dropped it again, this is his first singles title.
Yeah, just a tag team.
Pretty
That's
sure.
all he's had.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, you know, he had his NXT title opportunity. You know, he had a good showing, but the person he lost to was the bigger star and had the bigger story going on. So it made sense. It was the week of WrestleMania, I believe, when he lost. So it's the biggest one. And the same thing with the Josh Alexander, where pretty much, what was it? No, it was a different thing that it reminded me of, but the whole storyline behind D'Angelo was that he was supposedly scared of Obafemi.
Right.
You know,
Well, it
and he
was
was
Rocky.
showing that, there's finally some fear in the Dawn, you know, like feeling more human. And then Obafemi pretty much capitalizing and being like, yeah, you can't do this, you know, and it was the Sami Zayn. Almost the exact same Sami Zayn storyline that we had where Chad Gable had to pick him up and be like, no, you can do this, you know, like this is somebody, you know, even though he beat me and he beat you before, you know, like you're this person, all that. And Tony pretty much had to bring himself back up and be like, yeah, you know, they had that Miz TV segment where he was saying, yeah, you know, like you're imposing, you're all this, you're this, but like I can still do it.
Yeah.
And one that rewards him by finally getting him some gold, and maybe he can have a run on that. Two, it frees up Obafemi to do more bigger and better things because I think he is everything they hoped Omos would be and more.
Yeah, I agree with that.
The man is on fire. He is made of gold. He during that Miz TV segment, he did sound scary. He did have a good promo. I feel like he got it across that, hey, we're really, you know, having a match out here, but I am the powerhouse, and like you can only beat me the way he did beat him by, you know, it was like a surprise roll up. Like he went for I think he was going for a power bomb or something, and then he sunset flipped and pretty much pinned him like that. So it kept Oba looking really strong, and then it gave Tony the win. Whether or not they have Oba rematch him or not, it's up for determination, but I feel like he should just go straight for Ethan Page, or if Ethan Page loses, go for whoever has it, because you can't keep
Trick has it right now.
You can't keep him down. He's too good in every way. I feel like he has potential to be bigger than Trick.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not taking it. It's not taking anything away from Trick, because Trick is amazing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I mean, you got to look at what they're doing.
Yeah.
So shout out to the OXW champion Fonzie Mother Loving LaFleur. He has tuned in to listen to us on this podcast.
All right.
On our simulcast today. Yeah.
Good deal.
What's up,
Shout out.
Hey.
Let's see. Moving on from that, we have Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill set to take on Jakar Jackson and Lash Legend tonight on SmackDown.
Smacketh them down, pawn their candy behinds.
So I think that this is something that we're going to touch on in the roundtable portion a little bit, but the integration of NXT and WWE's main roster is happening.
I love
it. Yeah, I don't want to talk too much about that portion of this because I have some questions for you guys later on.
Yeah.
But I do think that it's going to be a more competitive match than they've had in a while. Is Jakara the big one?
Lash is the big one.
Lash is the big one. Looks like
Lash is bigger than Jade.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like
Lash
when they were cutting that promo. Yeah. So this is going to be interesting. I mean, I don't think the kids are going to win.
Right.
Even though Faxium did beat A-Town Down Under.
Yeah.
Because they just can't get a win.
No, they're gonna.
They're going to break them up. That's all.
Yeah.
That's what that's coming down to.
I'm surprised they weren't broken up already because of how that triple threat match went.
Yeah, but I think it's a big opportunity for Lash and Jakara to get on the main roster and wrestle in front of that crowd. I'm sure they'll have a good showing at the very least.
Yeah.
If I could about the so one thing I know for a fact is that they did that on purpose. They had Jakari and Lash in their heels come out.
Yeah.
And that's why they look so imposing in comparison. Gotcha. But just naturally, both like Lash Legend is just naturally thick, with however many C's you want to use. But specifically, they did that on purpose, and the camera work to make it
they shot him from the waist up, and it was kind of a tunnel vision kind of deal. Yeah, I noticed that too.
Yeah, and it was the camera was closer to Jakari Jackson and Lash Legend's side. So optically, it looks like they were bigger, but one, again, it's mutually beneficial because one, you get Lash Legend and Jakari Jackson on a main show so people can be like, oh, okay, let's check out NXT. There are still people, believe it or not, that don't know NXT is a thing. Right. So pretty much you have that, you give Jade and Bianca seemingly some credible challengers.
At least physically.
Because of the physically imposing. That's what they're going for, it looks like, which again makes it weird when they're wrestling hand in hand with Kairi Sane and Io Sky, considering just how much bigger they are.
Yeah,
but again, we've talked about the fact that Io Sky and like she was in Lucha Underground, like drop kicking the crap out of people bigger than aforementioned Bianca and Jade. But again, I just go with the optics. The same reason why this looks like it'll be a better match than it probably will be.
Right.
It's just it's trying to figure out the Bianca Jade thing because I'm just so against it. I'm so against it. I feel like she should have been NXT champion.
Right.
She should probably go back now and like hopefully Roxanne just drops it. And then
so she can move up, or
I feel like Roxanne, I would like her to just go out.
I think she's ready for the.
You didn't lose it the first time. Don't have her lose it the second time. Just have her beat Julia and drop it.
Yeah. I think that she's ready for the main roster, to be honest.
I mean, except for the fact that they already have Liv, but
let her beat up on Liv for a little bit.
I think that her and Liv cut very similar promos.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Like, I think every time, if I closed my eyes and listened to Roxanne, I would think it was Liv Morgan. Like, like they cut very similar promos.
It's the same thing as like Bliss when she was doing her thing.
Exactly.
It's just the bratty, mean short girl.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I'd just like there to be more uprising from NXT instead of people hanging around like Trick Williams. He's already 2-time NXT champion. What do you like waiting for?
Right.
like lift him up. But now, no, he's the champion again. So they're gonna have him down there at least until he fights Oba.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just hope that they don't make this a squash match. You know what I mean? I hope that they show that like have a strong showing from Jakara and Lash.
Oh, I'm
It
sure
would
they
do
will.
nothing for them for it to be a squash match. It would do nothing for either of them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it has
Yeah.
to be, Bianca doing most of the work and, Jakari and Lash beating up on her for a little bit. Jade comes in
Right.
on the hot tag, does her move
Mm-hmm.
here and there, and then finishes
Yeah. A couple little
Jakari.
kicks and whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it'll be Jakari taking the pin, and it'll probably be Jade giving it.
Yeah.
And that is our news portion.
All right. So, fellas, Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes had a big confrontation. A pretty important, significant thing happened. Kevin Owens turned heel, and the thing about this is, it wasn't shown after the pay per view. Like, it wasn't like, oh, we're gonna cut to this. Wasn't shown on the pay per view. Wasn't shown on TV. It wasn't shown on streaming. It was shown as a viral clip. Well, a clip on the internet meant to go viral. I think this is probably the first time that WWE has done something like this.
Yeah.
Put out a clip with something this important only on the internet. So, first of all, what are your guys' thoughts on Kevin Owens turning on Cody? And what are your thoughts on them releasing this as an internet-only type of thing? And Brent, I see you raising your hand, so we'll go ahead and go with you first, man.
I think it is wonderful to turn Kevin heel again because not only did he confront Cody whenever Cody was leaving, I saw a little bit of that prize fighter gimmick come out on him. You know what I mean? So we're going to see the real side of Kevin Owens, and it's going to be a meaningful one. I think we're going to see a very aggressive Kevin Owens coming out against Cody Rhodes. And I think he's just tired of losing, man.
Yeah.
So hey, let him beat him up. Of course he's not going to dethrone Cody from the Undisputed Championship, but it's gonna definitely raise some eyebrows and make him look real strong and good for sure.
All right. And Pablo, what are your thoughts on them releasing something this important as an internet clip?
Personally, I think it's a good idea because we're at that time in the world's, especially with media, to where a lot, if not most things, are already shown online and then we find out about them that way, and less about like, oh, Stephanie Vaquer, who knew she would have been here? Oh, most of us, because we already knew about the contract. So a lot of it is that I feel like this is a good thing because one, it makes some people realize like, oh, we got to keep track of this, like everything is on internet anyway, so why not translate it over and stop pretending like we have, this isn't the Vince McMahon anymore where we pretend things don't exist, it's like, oh, there's no way, it's like this on TV, so there's no, we get to actually see 24 hours worth of wrestling pretty much nowadays. There's so much going on, so why not do it online and put some onus on actually keeping track of WWE outside of the 3 hours or 2 hours of show that they have a week. It actually is a good thing. The thing with Kevin Owens, though, it was already written in the stars the way he was acting. I'm not upset about them not doing it on a Raw. I think it was a good idea to do it the way they did it, just for the clicks wise and to get some rumblings. So yeah,
awesome. So speaking of wrestlers turning, it seemed like Chris Statlander was in the middle of a hot run as a heel, and out of nowhere she turned babyface. It seems like no one thinks it makes sense, and even Chris Statlander has said that she doesn't get it and she doesn't like it. So Pablo, what are your thoughts on that?
I um I think it's weird. I really do. It was the whole thing where wasn't she a part of a group technically? It was Stokely
Right.
Hathaway, Willow and her.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And then it seemed like she was also a part of Best Friends for a bit, and then it's a weird coupling with the fact that she went heel on Willow, and then it seemed like Willow was going to go heel on her, and now it feels like she went from heel to no, she went from face to heel to face again in like a matter of 1 or 2 months,
Yeah.
Hmm.
like just a few shows, which is not nearly enough, but like it's strange to me because maybe they felt like it wasn't working her as a heel, but she's pretty imposing,
Right.
and I felt like she would have done well with that whole gimmick, considering that her and Willow had a pretty good match,
Yeah.
and I felt like Chris Statlander, the alien she would have been a good heel just stomping on smaller competition, but I don't know where she goes with this whole face gimmick. Like, who is she going to side with? Because it seems like AEW, you have to be a part of a faction or not at all.
Right. Right.
Somebody's a part of some sort of faction. This person's on the conglomeration, this person's on
Hmm.
BCC, but now they're not, and now they're part of this other thing. I don't
Yeah.
understand where they're going with it, but I do prefer her as a face, but I would have liked her to have some more heel, like maybe go a few
Yes.
more months.
Yeah, Brett, what are your thoughts?
So, does anything in AEW make sense ever?
No, it's all forced.
But,
It's
yeah.
all forced.
Yeah.
So, I mean, okay, so Chris Statlander is a phenomenal wrestler. She's
Yeah.
good.
Yep.
I loved her as a face. I was starting to get into her heel act a little bit, but I like her better as a face, man. She's just a
Yeah.
way better worker as a face, and she gets over. Uh, as far as the way that they did it, I don't like how they did it. Like Pablo said, 1 or 2 months, 3 months, whatever it was, she was actually a heel. She was
Yeah.
good, but I don't know why such sudden, like all of a sudden, you know, you flip it that quick. Usually about 6 months to a year, you'll get that, but they really dropped the ball on this one, I think.
Yeah. Do you guys think it was because they felt like the fans wanted to see her as a face, even
Oh
if the
yeah,
heel stuff was working? Do you think that's really just why they did it?
yeah, she's like Bailey,
Yeah.
the old Bailey act. It's basically what it is, just in a different sense.
Yeah. So we've talked about Kevin Owens turning heel. We've talked about Chris Statlander turning face. I am curious what you guys have on your list as your favorite turns of all time. Let's say like what entertained you the most and which one you thought was the most effective.
Oh gosh. All right.
Who first?
You want me to
Brett,
go
Pablo,
first?
you want to go first? Yeah, go for it, brother.
Well, I have something immediate, if unless you.
No, no, go ahead. I've got all my stuff
Yeah, no,
here. So
Pablo, go for
All
it,
right,
man.
no, I'll do mine first then. I'll do mine first. Best heel turn or best heel turn or face turn, it doesn't matter.
Whatever you
Or
want. Yeah,
uh,
whichever. Yeah.
I think I'm picking this one because of the build of how they did it, what time they choose to do it, the way they masked it to not make it seem like it was going to happen, but it actually did. I think Roderick Strong turning heel on Pete Dunne and then being a part of joining Undisputed Era during the
oh,
NXT days.
Sure.
I'd say 100% that because one, they made you forget that months before they offered Roderick Strong one of those bands that said UE, right?
yeah.
So
Right.
they went to that. They were like, "Yeah, we think you should be a part of this," and he kind of shrugged them off, right? You forget about their whole back and forth, and then they have a Dusty Rhodes Classic where, for some reason, Roderick Strong and Pete Dunne not only were made a team, but they went to the finals. And then they
Right.
faced, I believe, O'Reilly and Adam Cole because Bobby Fish was hurt,
Right.
which is one of the reasons why Roderick Strong was so necessary
Had to
because
join.
Bobby
Yeah.
Fish being hurt, it was hard to keep them relevant. And the fact that Pete Dunne goes for the bitter end, hits it on Kyle O'Reilly, I believe, and then when you think Pete Dunne is going to pin him for the win, out of nowhere, end a heartache by Roderick Strong, and puts Kyle O'Reilly on top for the win. And then you're sitting there and you're like, what? And then you realize it hits you in the head. You're like, oh my goodness, he's actually taking the offer that they offered him months ago, takes the UE band off of Adam Cole, puts it on himself. And he's like, oh, you remember? I'm good now. That was
Yeah.
That's
perfect. That
beautiful.
was
That's
literally,
beautiful.
in a nutshell, what made NXT back then the best wrestling on TV.
Mm-hmm.
Just long-term storyline, long-term booking, them having a swerve, completely catching you off guard, and you have to look at it and be like, you know what? You got me there. That's what they did.
Yeah. Yeah.
I could probably think of so many more, but that specifically, just the way they did it, just chef's kiss and all of that.
Yeah. All right, Brent, what you got, man?
Man, there are so many good ones, but
Mhm.
I'm going to go with the Chris Jericho turn in 2008 against Shawn Michaels.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Ooh.
Yeah, that
Uh,
was nobody really saw it coming. I mean, you
yeah.
kind of did, but
Chris
the
Jericho
way that they
respects no
worked
one.
it, yeah. Uh,
Yeah.
but I would say that would be my favorite one, just because the way that Jericho ended up doing it all, and you know, it was a very egotistical and sadistic
Yeah.
motivation behind it. You know, because
Yeah.
that feud that they had was amazing.
Yeah.
And also it helped Chris Jericho redefine his career. You
Yeah,
know,
rebrand.
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
The slimy heel who will do anything.
Yes,
So
Short
that
hair
definitely.
Jericho was a menace.
Yeah, he
oh
was
yeah,
with his
Oh
freaking
man.
scarves.
oh
And his
yeah,
his
and
Karen haircut.
the
Oh
list,
Lord. Yeah.
yeah. So I think, and if I, there was it, and that was a hard choice for me to pick one because
Yeah.
you know there's always the Hulk Hogan turn at Bash the Beach in '96 to form the
Right.
NWO, and then
Right. Yeah.
Seth freaking Rollins' turn whenever he was with the Shield. So
With Shield. Yeah.
it was hard one to pick, but that's the one I did.
So I'm gonna
Oh, I
say
had
mine
a
too. I'm gonna say mine too, just because I want to. So Andre the Giant turning on Hulk Hogan.
Oh
yeah,
man.
And they made that thing look like it had been set up since 1984. You know, they called all the way back to Andre the Giant being the first person to congratulate Hogan when he won the title. But Hogan never offered Andre a title shot. And the reason was because he was scared of him.
mm-hmm.
And what was it, 4 years later? Andre's there and he's done. He's tired of waiting. And they set it up with a series of interviews, and then all of a sudden
Mm-hmm.
Heenan comes from out of nowhere, and you get Hogan, with the what are you doing with him, brother? Saying so, and then this was improvised by Piper. But when Andre went to rip Hogan's shirt, he accidentally ripped the cross. He wasn't supposed to do that, and it cut Hogan's neck. And Piper got down next to him and got the blood off his chest, and he goes, "You're bleeding, man." Like, that was beautiful. And it led to, one of, at the time, the biggest wrestling event of all time, WrestleMania 3.
yeah,
You know?
yeah,
And
Yeah.
I mean,
The slam.
that was beautiful to me. And I'm not saying they planned it from the beginning, but who's to say that they didn't?
right,
Who's to say that they weren't like, Andre, you be the first person to congratulate Hogan because we're planting some seeds for much later.
yeah,
I mean, the
yeah,
way that
I wouldn't
wrestling
put it
is,
past them.
yeah, I mean, planning something 3 or 4 years in advance isn't unheard of. And
Mhm.
that's killer. I love it. So,
if I can mention something, right? This is the
Yeah.
important thing about storyline and the fact that if you follow it to where it begins
Yeah.
and like you build it together, it makes an amazing story. For an example, right? And I imagine a lot of fans of wrestling will have this same issue, right? My brother just found out about NXT because of CM Punk's Raw day just this last Raw, CM Punk
Yeah.
talking about it and then being like, "Oh, he was on NXT." And my brother was like, "What is NXT?" And I was like, I was trying to go back and tell him about where to start watching it and try to pick up, but it's so difficult
Yeah.
because you start at this point and you miss out on the beginning of this, you know, like if you
Hmm.
start at Brooklyn because of Tommaso and Johnny Gargano's match and the
Oh
fact
yeah.
that, you know, it shows the inner workings and then eventually, you know, this story builds, this story is here, this story is there, but there's so much that you have to try to follow, right? Like if you want to start the Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano epic, you have to go all the way back to when DIY was initially first a thing.
Right.
Because
And
people
I
right
feel
now,
like
they're like, oh, DIY is a group right now. I was like,
right.
yeah, they were a very successful group and then broke up, you know, which was one of the
Yeah.
most
And
insane
had
heel
vicious
turns
matches.
statistically.
Yeah.
There was so,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, that last man standing match that
Yeah.
that Gargano and Ciampa had. But that's the thing
Oh,
about it though, is like, where do you have people start? Like if you want one of the most amazing feuds ever, in my opinion, that led to three of the greatest matches where it was Ciampa and Gargano. You know, one that wasn't nearly as good as a feud, but they just had really good matches was Gargano
hmm.
and Almas and
Right.
Andrade. You know, like those three, two of the three were 5-star matches.
Yeah. I
But
Yeah.
mean,
where do you tell people to start? You know, and that's the thing. Like when you were mentioning the Hogan thing and the fact that it started with him congratulating, like Andre congratulating Hogan, like these things, these important context clues and these important, you know, I feel like that's why we need to, with a fine tooth comb, just look at things. And
yeah.
it's hard to just be like, you know, WrestleMania 3, go watch it without any context and tell me what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel
You
like
know,
if I
so
was going to recommend where to start at NXT, I would
yeah.
go to like Becky Lynch first coming on as like and Corey Graves accusing her of being a fake metalhead and the
Yeah.
vaudevillains and Tyler Breeze's male model gimmick. Um
Yeah.
I feel like that would be a good place to start, you know?
It would be great for wrestling, but if you think about it, for the story of NXT, how can you tell the story of NXT without them knowing about Nexus?
True. Right. So you might even
You know,
Hmm.
start
like where
before
they came
NXT was
from.
even a show. You
Right.
know, when NXT
Like,
was the competition.
Yeah.
well, because
Yeah,
think
like
about
when
it, right?
NXT was their version of Tough Enough.
Some of the best storylines ever. Daniel Bryan's whole thing with the fact that Miz was his
Hmm.
coach.
Yeah.
Miz was wrestling for 3 years, and what was it? Daniel Bryan kept talking about the fact that he was
I've been a
wrestling
10-year veteran.
longer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly, like stuff like that is beautiful, but obviously NXT back then was, it was super silly. They had people hot dog eating contests, and because
Right.
Daniel Bryan was a
Right.
vegan, they made you watch him drink soda really fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
They could
my
have eaten a
goodness.
soy dog, you know.
Where would they get that from? Whatever place that was, not bougie enough to have it. Especially back
Yeah.
then. What was it, 2010?
Something
Who
like that.
knows? Like
2010,
what was that
2011.
even?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Well, because I know Jericho was double champ, so was Miz, or something like that.
Right.
There was a bunch of stuff going on back then, but it was just a confusing thing about it, and I wanted to mention that specifically because, you know, do the work when it comes to these feuds and all of that. Really try to dig and find, because that heel turn thing is not as
Yeah.
easy as a, you
Oh
know,
no.
because certain
No,
things are
it's
just, yeah. Shawn Michaels turning on Marty Jannetty, you know what happened there. They were a tag team until they
Right.
weren't.
Yep.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
But when it
I
comes
think
down to really thinking about your heel turns and stuff, you got to go back and it's got to be something that builds like a
Oh
slow
yeah.
build.
right.
Yeah,
That's
Right.
a
that's
Right.
good
the
one.
best way to
A
do them
slow
too.
build. You gotta
Absolutely.
marinate that beef. You gotta slow cook it. All right, so that. We got our three
Yeah. All right. So I also wanted to see what you guys thought about Tony Khan and Warner Brothers Discovery deciding to continue the relationship between WBD and AEW. Um, and and whether or not you think AEW will actually get on a streaming service next year. I mean, WBD owns tons of streaming services. It's not,
They do.
I don't understand why they pulled AEW from Max to begin with. It seems like Tony Khan is pretty confident that in 2025 they will get back on Max and stay there. But Brent, what do you think? Do you think that it's actually going to happen?
It might. I mean, he's got money,
Yeah.
so you know.
got money. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Got money.
um,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
as
All right.
far as like Warner Brothers is concerned, I'm kind of glad that they got him a deal done because it kind of makes them feel a little bit more secure about where they're going to be,
Right.
and instead of just guessing. Um,
Right.
I just
WA.
wish, I just wish that they would actually, you know, do something legitimately good so they can get some viewership. Man, their
Right.
viewership is struggling. I
Mhm.
mean, not just a
Yeah.
little, but
Yeah.
very significantly.
Yeah.
Mightily, yeah.
So I think, will they get a streaming service? Yeah, probably. I mean, why not? Everybody's got a streaming service nowadays. Hell, TNA had a
Yeah.
streaming service.
I mean, but they have one that they own and is extremely complicated and
Yeah, oh
expensive.
yeah, it is, and it's expensive. So
TNA's streaming service is trash. Sorry, TNA, but I'm just saying it's
love
terrible.
TNA, but yeah,
Yeah, your streaming
need to fix
service is
that.
trash. No one's going to pay $10 a month plus $35 a month to have access to the pay-per-views.
No,
That's the most ridiculous streaming model I've ever heard of in my life.
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they'll be fine.
Yeah.
Tony, where's the storylines, man? Gotta have storylines.
Yeah. Pablo, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think they get on a streaming service next year? Or?
I say it's written in the stars as far as, the fact that Netflix and WWE are doing their thing. They have to figure a way to get their own, you know. He's going around with the Max hat and all of that, so you would imagine that it's going to be Max, and to have a backlog of stuff is really important. Like I mentioned, you want to keep track of these feuds or these things here and there. Kenny Omega just came back and you want to figure out what he did
Mm-hmm.
back then. You got to
Right.
have a backlog, and that's what they want, I imagine. But I'm more concerned with there being something of a brand split where they can have their own ROH, maybe. They can
Mm-hmm.
have, you know, ROH's TV deal and then AEW have a TV deal, but have some sort of rhyme or reason to it. There's a reason why WWE has Raw and SmackDown, because
Mm-hmm.
if it didn't, it would be AEW.
Right.
And AEW
Right.
mess. It's a bit too much of it's a flummox. It's just
Mm-hmm.
Right.
so many different things. You got Dark, you got Collision, you got Rampage, you got
Rampage.
Dynamite, and there's so
Yeah.
many different things, but nobody is glued to one. It's just perceived. They'll have 3 or 4 matches on one, 2 or 3 on the other, and then
Mm-hmm.
it's just a whole bunch of random. You never know what's coming on. It
Mm-mm.
seems even when
Or
they
who's wrestling.
announce what's going on before, it's just it leaves a lot to be desired. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
feel like they have to have some sort of structure. I think
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
structure makes a lot of things better.
Now, much like a good wrestling storyline or wrestling card, even, these roundtable questions have all led up to this final question. You can go back and look at the pieces. Um, Speaking of AEW struggling in ratings, speaking of CM Punk pushing viewers to NXT, NXT completely destroyed Dynamite on Tuesday in the
Not just
ratings.
not just Dynamite. They destroyed all three of AEW shows.
Well, in a
They
head-to-head competition, they destroyed
yeah,
Dynamite.
right.
But yeah,
But if you added every show that AEW has, they
yeah,
still didn't beat them. You could add them all
yeah.
together.
So
My
to
goodness.
me, a lot of this is like you said, Pablo, CM Punk mentioning it on Monday. Um, a lot of it is also that they've really, since they moved to CW, given NXT an open door to WWE talent, like on the main roster. There have been people coming down. Jade and Bianca wrestled. Jimmy Uso came out and celebrated Trick Williams' victory with him.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like this is something that is probably going to continue to happen to the point
Was it Jimmy or
where,
Jay? Sorry.
oh, why do I always swap them? Jay
Because they're
Uso.
twins.
Yeah, that's why. But I always swap them.
Why do
Whenever
I
I'm
keep
talking about Jay,
mixing
I
up
always
these
say
two
Jimmy.
twins?
Yeah. Well, how do I
Why?
keep
It's almost
mixing them
as
up?
if
They're twins. Yeah. Jay Uso came down and celebrated with Trick Williams.
Yes, sir.
So my question for you guys is, do you see NXT becoming a legitimate third brand? Do you see them getting some matches on the pay-per-views, not just their own brand pay-per-views, but eventually could there be an NXT title match at WrestleMania? Um like how far do you think this is going to go? Because right now the company that is considered the training company
Mm-hmm.
for WWE
mm-hmm.
demolished the number 2 company in the United States. Pablo, go ahead. What do you think, brother?
Well, if I'm being completely honest, right? I've felt NXT to be the third even before this because back when they were doing the black and gold and
Mm-hmm.
they were putting out some of the best content, probably the best content of all wrestling, whether if it was Raw or SmackDown. They had the best matches. They uh they were turning out such good pay-per-views. I felt as if they missed the chance of making it the third by not doing the draft with them in mind. They were almost seen as like, oh, this is just a pool that we can grab from. Where I wanted them to be like, no, I think at the time they had Regal, and
Right.
I wanted them to be the third brand already because what's what's developmental about them other than the fact that uh, WWE turns them and makes them into it. If you think about it, right? Because there was
Yeah.
no continuity when Vince was there. Like Vince wanted everybody to forget who they were in NXT when they came to Raw and SmackDown. So, I felt like they had the best chance to be the third a while ago. Now, I feel like people are noticing the fact that they are as good, if not better, sometimes than the main roster, and they need to be treated as such because Trick Williams is the most over champion they have.
Yeah.
He's more over than
Mm-hmm.
Cody, and I
Oh
care
yeah.
about him more than Gunther right now.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
the when people on the CW saw the ovation he got, not to keep bringing up the Commanders, but I'm a big Commanders fan. They're the Jaden Daniels of the league, where like Trick Williams is the rookie, quote unquote, but he's your best superstar. He's your best champion in WWE, whether or not it's Raw or SmackDown. Cody's been stale to me for a while,
Yeah.
and I do feel as if, to answer your question, I do feel as if they are the third brand and they should be treated as such, developmental or not. After a while, you can't lie to the eye test. The eye test.
Right.
Tony D'Angelo dropping or Oba dropping it to Tony is just another case of, oh, you have to watch week by week because this is the second week in a row that on a regular show there was a title change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Trick winning that first week, I think was a good way of doing it, a good way of showing the changing of guard. Kind of like how I mentioned Jinder dropping it to AJ for them to show, okay, this is the direction we're going to follow us on this journey, and Trick is the right person to lead that journey. And
Yeah.
I feel as if they are better than AEW. They have a better women's division than AEW, and AEW has a decent women's division. So which tells you that I think NXT has the best. I said it last week. I think NXT has the best women's division in all of wrestling.
Yeah, for sure.
So I feel as if they already that, but it's just people are catching on, and it's because of the CW thing, and I don't see why not. Look how good they did that first week, and the second week was,
second week was
it's already
phenomenal.
viral because of Oba.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Brent, what do you think, brother?
I think that they have pretty much solidified themselves as a standalone company within the company because of what they've been doing as far as in-ring action. Those wrestlers on NXT are just great, man. They got great promos, and they got there and they give it 100%. And I wouldn't mind to see them, on some of the mainline pay-per-views or PLEs or whatever you want to call them nowadays. And what Oba and D'Angelo did was fantastic. Not only that but you saw Nikita Lyons come back and she's getting ready to plot her revenge again against Lola Vice. So I mean, whenever they bring Gigi back there, it'll be nice.
Battle of the Booties.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did they already have a Battle of the Booties with Nikita and Lola?
Yeah.
Battle of the Booties Part 2.
You gotta put Gigi in that.
Yeah,
she's been slept on.
Yeah,
I also feel as if. But
yeah,
I just want her back because I feel like she is a good wrestler, and I feel like she hasn't had the chance
she's
to
fantastic.
show it.
But yeah, as far as that, I really think that I would love to see NXT, mix in with WrestleMania a little bit. Maybe
they've got 2 nights. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they've got 2 nights.
I mean, we see them we see some in the Royal Rumble, which is kind of cool. But man, let them just get in there and go with these top stars. Let's see it.
Right.
I mean,
so
Javon Evans and Randy Orton had a great match.
But it was kind of an 8-minute squash.
Yeah.
I think we need to speak on that. Can we speak on that one?
Oh yeah,
sure,
for sure.
Can I speak first?
Yes.
Let me just say, I think this is going to conclude the roundtable portion. We're going to just talk a little bit about our opinions, and then we're going to slide into some indie wrestling. So I personally felt like it was an 8-minute squash. I think Javon Evans got his hope spots, but I think that freaking show, that match was a showcase for Randy Orton, unfortunately, which is not what it was supposed to be. And for Rocky Johnson, or for The Rock's daughter, Ava, is that her name?
Yeah,
Ava Rain.
Yeah. For her to come on and say, and because of his showing, getting beat up all over the arena by The Rock or by Randy Orton, which is, that's basically what she should have said. Javon is getting in the title match because I don't feel like Randy Orton did a good job of making that kid look like a star. I think he made it look like he had a ways to go. Like, that's how I feel. And maybe I'm wrong, but he put him through a freaking table, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, it was an 8-minute match.
I've seen better superstars get beaten 30 seconds. So
yeah, but I mean, if it's supposed to be a showcase for the kid, you know, If it's
Yeah,
supposed to be making it look like he can hang, and it's supposed
well,
to be making it, he should have had way more offense. Maybe he should have won, in a Tony D'Angelo kind of way.
yeah, well, he
You know,
admitted he apologized to Randy because he missed the whole RKO thing.
That's the part I was
ah,
going to get to.
yeah,
Brent, do
yeah,
you want to give your piece before I do, or?
No,
yeah.
go
Go
ahead.
for it, bro. Yeah.
All right, so I'd watched that match, right? And I was kind of thinking the same thing as you, Keith, where I was like, okay, when is he going to get his offense in?
Right.
I was like, when is it going to actually be a showcase? But I mentioned this last week as well, or whenever we found out about this match. It's just a spot monkey match. It was just
Right.
okay, we're going to see how cool an RKO you can do. And all of
And he
it
just
was
did a
leading
regular
up
one.
to that. All of it was leading up to that, just for him to miss and then have the Kofi treatment where
Yeah,
he just picks him
Yeah.
up and he was like, "Oh, I guess I'm just gonna do it like this," and then
Yeah.
just RKO's him in the middle of the ring. And then
yeah,
yeah,
it's
Yeah.
a
they
bit
show him
disappointing.
saying I'm sorry, and he was like, Randy was like trying to give him some words of encouragement. He was like, "No, you're the man. You did well." But if we're thinking about it, right, Randy, it was his first time in an NXT ring in front of his hometown.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
knew he would win, and I
Right.
called it from the get, but I did feel as if he did more of a showcase than he needed to, considering he's Randy frickin' Orton.
Right.
Fair. Fair.
It
Fair.
wasn't, I don't feel like it was ever supposed to be anything but just who can get the coolest, like an Evan Bourne situation
Yep.
Right.
or the AJ Styles situation, where the only reason they even did the feud in the first place is because I want to do the phenomenal forearm and get RKO'd. To
Yeah.
the point where they literally started to make it a gimmick where it was like, oh, you're going to do it now? Oh, I fall this time. And it was like, oh, you couldn't do it that time. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm just going to keep. So it was just a whole wanting him to have the coolest viral RKO. And it didn't
Right.
make the
Didn't
Yeah.
mark.
happen.
And I feel like it doesn't make Javon Evans look good. I think it does make Randy Orton look good
Not
as
at all.
as it's more of a person on a person
Yeah.
level. It makes Randy Orton look good because it's like,
Right.
okay, you wanted to give this kid a rub, you wanted to show his athleticism, you wanted to show that he's next up, even though personally I don't see it because I'm over the flippy people just being given
Yeah.
Yeah.
everything in the world. Because one, I don't find him to be believable, not because of his stature but just because of his moveset.
Yeah.
Two,
Right.
I feel like you need to do more nowadays than just flip the crap out of everything.
Right. So
Like you,
so when Javon did the RKO, was that actually supposed to be him getting the RKO and he overshot? Or when was the miss?
no, the miss was at the towards the very end where he did this super convoluted, like very complicated flip where it
Yeah.
looked like because Randy tried to go for it, but
Yeah.
Okay.
Javon he was too far to the left.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
he ended up not overshooting it. He ended up literally just missing where he was supposed to do it anyway. And you saw Randy Orton go for it and just like barely even nick his shoulder. So then
Gotcha.
he stands him up. Then Randy stands Javon up. Then he looks him in the face and he's like, "Oh, here you go." And then just RKO's him in the middle of the ring
Okay. Yeah, I'm
because
gonna have to go
everybody
back
knew.
and
Everybody
watch
knew it
it.
was going to happen.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and watch it. Because I missed it somehow. but but thankfully with streaming, you can go back. Um
Yeah,
so
that's a good thing.
let's go ahead and we'll discuss a little indie wrestling here. Pablo, there is a big independent wrestling card coming up. Why don't you go ahead and run that down for us, man?
Which one is that? Is that the we're not talking
Wrestle
about
Dream?
Wrestle Dream, are we?
I think so. Isn't that what we were going to talk about?
Oh yeah, okay. I was gonna say
Yeah.
because it is technically indie, but it's under the AEW tent, I
Is
suppose.
it? Okay, I wasn't aware. All right.
Yeah, it's under the
Okay.
AEW tent, so it's
Okay.
for the most part, it's going to be Saturday the 12th, which breaking the however many walls is
Huh.
tomorrow for us.
Right.
And it's in Tacoma, which matters because it's the state of Washington. And the hometown hero is going to have one of his, I think, the second career or title match in a row, which I imagine is just what Brian Danielson's going to do for the rest of the year. He's just going to threaten to leave when he loses, and I'll mention more about that whole Brian Danielson thing when it comes up. But Wrestle Dream specifically, all it is to me is that okay, when does Bobby Lashley come up? But
Yeah.
I'll mention the card real quick. I'll go in order, and then we'll speak on it. I'll give a little bit of a synopsis, or as far as what happened with the storylines to make this happen. For the most part, some are just matches, because AEW.
Yeah.
But I'll mention this real quick. So ROH World TV Championship, which if people didn't know was a title, it is.
Interesting.
We have Atlantis Jr. against Brian Cage. And
Okay.
it's renowned that Atlantis Jr. is going to win because I don't believe that Brian Cage is going to take his talents to ROH.
Okay.
I'm still wondering when
Yeah.
he's going to the WWE.
Is he an AEW guy or is he?
Brian Cage has been an AEW guy for a bit. Yeah. The thing is, though,
Okay.
he's just been in
I don't hear a
he's
lot
been
about
in
him, so
relative obscurity, I would say.
Mhm.
Considering that
Absolutely.
he's like brunette Brock, considering
right.
that, like he's not actually given any rub. I think the last time he was even sniffed a title, I think he got the with the Mogul Embassy or something, or with those two, the Indus Shore looking guys. I think he won
Yeah.
the triple tag championship with them one time. But it was
Okay.
very, very short lived. But
So
either
they
way,
have a
that's
trios
that's
title
the
in
0
AEW,
hour.
dude. I know.
Oh
I need
yeah,
to
they
learn
got
Yeah, they
more
do have
trios
a
about
now.
trios
AEW.
type, but I think they combined the AEW triples and the ROH triples, I believe.
Okay.
Or they
Interesting.
were threatening to do it, and then they gave it to Dusty and the Von Erichs.
Gotcha.
But actually, that title isn't up. But AEW's triples are the Blackpool Combat Club,
Hmm.
Okay.
where they're feuding. Like Wheeler Yuta's on the outs, but he's still their champion with them. So it's like a
Interesting.
weird
Yeah, it's a
dichotomy
weird
there.
little angle.
But
Right.
I like it though. I like it. It's different, You have a trios championship and one person doesn't want to do it, but he got like fed up and ended up winning for them like a week ago. So I like that. I like that gimmick. You don't see it every day,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
All right, so here we are. Next match is M&M Collection, which is Mansoor and Mace. It's pretty much the exact same thing they were doing with the Maxim models against the Acclaimed. It's just going to be a lot of posturing and a lot of modeling, but I imagine the Acclaimed just wins that.
Right.
After that, it's Darby against Brody,
That'd be
which
a
I
good match.
like
Battle in the
because
paint.
I feel like Darby is going to win because they always have Darby win, but I like the thought of Brody throwing him around for 15 minutes and just absolutely just wrecking the place. Like
Yeah.
really like the whole Blue Oyster Cult's Christopher Walken little Saturday Night Live skit. They're like really use the space. He's just gonna
Yeah.
throw him around. And
Right.
then after that is Hologram and the Beast Mordos for 2 out of 3s falls, which I like what they're doing with Hologram. They're making him seem real strong. And then Beast
Yeah.
Mordos, he's widely renowned as one of the best high flying big men,
Right.
Hmm.
or whatever this whole beast considers themselves. I don't know. After that is an interesting one that I don't know much about, but it's a two former Bullet Club guys. It's a Hangman against um Switchblade.
Jay White.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I remember when Jay White was like the hottest free agent in wrestling, man.
Yeah.
And now he's just like
He
probably
missed
regretting that he
it.
didn't sign with the WWE.
Yeah,
Oh, I
because
thought so.
he was meant to be a WWE guy. I just see it in his
Yeah.
face.
Yeah.
You can just tell he was a WWE guy out the womb. And he went to
Yeah.
AEW and he's been floundering. You know, he was
Right.
the
It
triples
was a mistake,
champion,
man.
and then he was the
Mm-hmm.
triples champion, and then they did the Bang Bang Scissor Gang, and then like he probably even faster than they did the Statlander heel turn into face. Like they
Yeah.
got rid of it completely, and I'm like, you didn't have time to sell merch.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah.
I'm kind of upset about that because, you know, I have a feeling that Hangman, he's on this redemption thing where he's just this monster just wrecking people, and I feel like he's going to do well
Yeah.
in this run, but Jay White's just a somebody in his way, and I saw Jay White as a future WWE champion, not just
Right.
some. He hasn't even sniffed a mid card yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking
And
of
I
mid
think that
card, I
I
was
was
gonna
just going to
say,
say, I see Hangman as like one of the Hulk Hogans of AEW. You know what I mean? He's
oh,
like
perfect
one of
comp.
those
That's
guys
a
that they're
perfect.
always going to push to the moon, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly what he is. But I think he's playing with that right. He's playing it right
Yeah.
because he's slowly becoming unhinged. And like, I like the
Yeah.
look. I like the mustache look now. I feel like
Yeah.
Yeah. You can see it.
he's got a bit of like a Stan Hansen feel to him, like real
Mm-hmm.
rough, rugged guy,
Right.
Dan Severn type. But I was gonna say, speaking of mid card, I feel as if the ROH championship is a mid card title now, and it's weird
Yeah.
Yeah.
considering
Yeah. I
how
agree with that.
much there's so much lore behind it. There's so much history behind the ROH title, way more than the AEW one. But it's now just a middle of the card thing. It's Briscoe against Chris Jericho.
Oh, wow.
How do you
That'd
Night
be
guys
card.
a
feel
good
about
match.
I
It'll
say
be a good
I'm gonna
match.
ask about these next few with you guys and then kind of talk about what we think. But the next six I mentioned are the title matches, so kind of power through those and figure.
There's
But
6 more matches.
Yeah. It's a big card,
that's
dude.
what I'm
Holy
saying.
Mary. Is it a
That's what
one
I'm
day
saying.
show?
The only 0 hour match was the first one, the Atlantis against Brian Cage.
Atlantis. Yeah.
Everything else is on the card. It's wild.
Wow.
Their cards are
Okay.
massively long.
Yeah.
Exactly. It starts at 8 Eastern. So it's like this is gonna be
So it's going to go over
going.
like 4 o'clock in the morning.
Oh,
Probably. I
it's
wouldn't
gonna
doubt
be
it, dude.
exactly. Especially
Uh,
if this international championship match is going to take as long as I imagine it would.
yeah.
But let me ask you about these next few titles that come up and just power through them because I don't want to be stuck with it. Who do you think is going to win between the Learning Tree, Chris Jericho, and Conglomeration, Mark Briscoe?
Oh, man.
Keith, I'll go to you, Keith.
Well,
I, that's tough because it's for the ROH title.
yeah.
Yes, it is.
So Mark Briscoe is kind of ROH. You know what I mean?
He definitely is.
Yeah, he's the spirit of ROH.
Mhm.
But Chris Jericho is Chris Jericho, and obviously
He's
they
the
have
Ocho.
done. Yeah, obviously Chris Jericho's been super important in AEW since he showed up. So
Mhm.
I think the question is Chris Jericho going to take the learning tree to ROH and bring
I
along
think it'd be a
Big Bill?
waste.
And yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Mhm.
So I think Mark Briscoe probably wins, or at least retains the title.
Okay. I'll give my short, maybe controversial opinion after Brent. But Brent, what do you
Okay.
think?
I think Finn Balor's still winning.
Finn
Finn
Balor,
Balor.
baby.
Yeah, because there's some breaking news. Okay, so
Yeah, what was the
uh,
breaking news? You got it? All right, what do we
yeah.
got going on?
All right, so Bailey responds, I once got into trouble in my relationship because of Finn Balor. Sasha Banks responds with, I had the best partner in mixed match tag challenge in Finn Balor. Nia Jax says, when I installed Tinder, the first name that popped up on my app was Finn Balor. And that, my friend, is why Finn Balor is still winning.
Oh my God.
Oh, jeez.
That was
That's
breaking news
hilarious.
that Finn Balor is a lady killer. That's not no breaking
Yeah, I
news.
think that's news.
That was known. I was to
Yeah,
say, I do like what they're getting at though, because literally Finn is
that's
he is
hilarious.
super built.
But as
We
far
also,
I wish they'd bring back the demon.
I'm going to
as the
pop in
R,
with something real quick too, guys, before
yeah,
we
go
get
ahead.
too far along.
Mm-hmm.
There was a fan who pointed out that, or a listener, I should say, who pointed out that Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair did have a match for the NXT Women's Championship during COVID at WrestleMania.
Oh yeah, WrestleMania
Yeah,
36.
So
no,
yeah,
I do. Yeah,
so
I
they
did remember that.
so they did that but it, obviously after COVID was over, NXT went back to being uh, uh afterthought.
Yeah,
I'll say.
Yeah.
Um, I'm looking for them. I guess what I was asking was, will they? I'm looking for it to be on more of a permanent basis. You know, I
yeah,
appreciated that Rhea Ripley Charlotte Flair match because it's really what got me super into Rhea Ripley, to be completely honest. But
Really? Okay.
but then after that, NXT was just back down in Florida. You know,
Mhm.
so
Well, I wish they
and I
yeah,
took
think
the
the only
ECW
reason
route.
did they have that WrestleMania at the training center?
yes, they did.
Yeah. See,
Yeah,
so I think that's
they
another
did.
big reason why they put an NXT match on there. It was COVID. It was a weird, different time. You know what I mean? But I'm looking for them to be part of the giant 2 day in a stadium WrestleMania. That's what I'm wanting.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
All right, Brett. I just didn't want to ignore the person who commented. But yeah,
Right.
Brett, go ahead, man.
As far as the ROH World Heavyweight Championship goes, uh, I think Mark Briscoe is going to beat Jericho and retain because
Yeah.
I don't see like Jericho can win any title in the world. Literally,
Yeah.
he's a
Yeah.
phenomenal wrestler. He's one of the greatest of all time. Uh, but what can he do for Mark Briscoe? Well, how can he elevate him? That's what I'm looking for. So
Yeah.
Well, if I could, right? Because I try to do my best to follow the storylines. Briscoe being a part of his conglomeration, right? Which is a really funny uh
it's
faction,
weird.
right? Just a lot of slapstick stuff. Him and Kyle
Yeah,
O'Reilly, they do well. And then, Learning Tree Chris Jericho, he just has his two lackeys hanging around him. I think it's just a showing of their factions, and gonna be a screwy thing, but
hmm
I personally think that the title retires with Mark. At some
Yeah.
it
point,
should.
I feel like they're gonna retire the ROH. They might retire a Ring of Honor entirely
Right.
with Mark Briscoe, because I feel like him getting the title was an ode to Jay, considering that, like, almost, I think, to the day, like 9 or 10 years ago, before the same day Mark won the title was like 9, 10 years before is when Jay won it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like Jay was a two-time, Mark had never won it, and I feel like it means more as a sentimental value than it ever would be as a championship anymore. And I feel like the
Yeah.
same way
I agree.
Hook retired Taz's title, the FTW, which is a good thing because there's just too many titles, let alone one that doesn't actually matter.
Right.
You know, I do feel like ROH just needs to move aside and maybe become the NXT to AEW's WWE, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But
That'd
I
be kind of
think,
cool.
yeah, I believe it's just unanimous. Mark retains. I would definitely
Yeah.
say.
Mark retains, regardless of
Yeah.
how it happens. Yeah.
Yep.
Next one though. Okay, next one, and then I'll start with Brent to mix it up. But Jack Perry, the scapegoat, against Shibata, Katsuyori Shibata. That's for the title, for the AEW TNT title.
So, yeah. My thing is, I want Shibata to win. I do not like Jack Perry.
You don't like
You're
you don't like
not
you
supposed
like him
to.
better as Jungle,
No,
Jungle Boy?
no, I don't like him in life.
Oh, okay. Right.
I think he is a jerk. Okay,
Oh, that
he is
sucks.
not a good person.
I loved his dad.
His dad was fantastic,
Yeah.
but he is not a good person. He's not a good person on AEW. He's not a good person in life. He's got a hot girlfriend, whatever. But whatever it is, Jack Perry is not it. Sorry, Jack, but you suck. And that's all I got to say about Jack Perry.
Right on. Fair. So the first thing I want to say is Shibata makes great bread. I love bread.
That's ciabatta.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood.
Oh man.
But
what a funny.
Thanks. I got tons. I got tons.
Tons of
so
puns.
I don't know. I think Jack Perry probably is going to win. Just because I feel like he's more of an AEW guy. I feel like the Young Bucks stick by their guys. And yeah, so that's how I see it.
There'll be some tomfoolery, but it'll be Jack Perry.
Yeah.
Probably Okada like Rainmakers Shibata into the floor.
Right.
Or something. There'll be some sort of mix. Speaking of the elite, right? Next title matches the tag teams, Young Bucks against Private Party. I think we know where this is going.
Yep.
There's no way that Private Party beats EVPs. There's no way.
Right?
No way.
Private Party win?
No. I'll give respect to Private Party. I'm a big HOG homer. I like House of Glory, and they used to put on bangers over there, but Young Bucks are not losing to Private Party.
No.
Especially after, what was it? Moxley, what was it? He crushed Mark Quinn's hand or something to make them more tough. Something.
Yeah.
So maybe there might be a thing where they turn the corner and they're like, you know what? We're world beaters now because we're going to come after the BCC.
Because we have a crushed hand. I mean, when you have a crushed hand.
Exactly, right? It makes you more powerful. It makes the other hand even twice as strong.
Right. You have to use your other hand more so that it gets really strong. And then maybe you get some steel plates, put in your crushed hand, and then you can punch people with screws and stuff.
The Acclaim should have been the ones
triggered.
Yeah.
The Acclaim should have been the ones to beat the Young Bucks for those tag titles. I don't care what anybody says. The Acclaim should have done it.
Yeah.
Private Party.
FTR.
Sorry. Get back to the end of the line. Yeah, FTR is another
one.
What
about the Gun Club? Weren't the Gun Club really hot for a while?
They were for a while, yeah.
I don't want Juice. I don't want Juice and Jay to have tag titles because I want Jay to have a main title.
Yeah, there you go.
Fair.
And it definitely won't be the Guns that beat them. So
No.
Yeah. But yeah, it's unanimous. I definitely would say if you're a betting man or woman, bet on the Bucks in this one.
Don't bet against the Bucks,
Yeah.
Next one is actually the next three are barnyard. They're barn burners. Like they're literally classics. You can already
barn is on fire.
The barn is on fire. Somebody catch it. So the international championship between champion Will Ospreay, Ricochet, and Takeshita. They wedged Takeshita in because they had the once-in-a-lifetime match on a random episode of AEW, and then Takeshita had to go in there and ruin it because to do the Will Ospreay thing where him and Don Callis are beefing.
Right.
They had to further that, but also they had to make sure they only gave us a little bit of the match that we've seen 20 times before.
So does Ricochet win to does Ricochet win to justify the investment?
I think he has to because one, Will Ospreay doesn't need a title, and if he needed a title, it needs to be the main one. Let's be honest. Let's stop giving these really big wrestlers really minuscule titles.
Meaningless titles, yeah.
A title that was made 3 months ago that he lost already once.
Yeah.
It's going to be a Braun Breaker situation where he loses it fast again because what does it do for Ricochet or, what does it do for Takeshita?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. But so I think he put it on Ricochet.
Yeah, that's what I
think
too.
It has to be. You think the same thing?
That's
Yeah.
what I think. Yep, Ricochet.
You got to give him something to do because him without a title, he can't make things happen for himself.
He definitely
Right.
can't talk.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Osprey has become such a better talker now
He
because he
Yeah.
has.
knew he had to. But yeah, Ricochet already showed that he can't be that guy. And Will
I
Ospreay
think
shows that he can.
I
Hmm.
think having an accent helps you for some reason. Like it just
Yeah,
sounds
bruv.
better when you're cutting promos.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
I don't know.
yeah. All right. So
Right.
we are unanimous on Ricochet.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think
So we
Ricochet
have at
takes it.
least one title change, at least one.
At least one, if we're
Seems like
right.
that
Yeah.
might be all. But the next one is an interesting one, is because it's the most hotly contested women's title in wrestling right now.
Oh man.
Because they're not doing anything with anybody else, and I'm tired of the Liv Rhea stuff. Because it's really
Yeah.
Dom against Rhea at this point.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's Mariah May, the champion, doing her best heel work against everybody's favorite babyface, Willow Nightingale.
Man.
What do we
Ugh.
have here, boys?
They're both so
Mm.
good.
My
They
Um,
take:
are.
Mariah May retains.
she's gonna have
Yeah.
to because she's just getting started.
Yeah,
But
Mhm.
it's gonna be a great match.
but it could be a
Yeah.
revenge match for Willow losing the tournament.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So
But two words though. Two words. Stat Lander.
Hey
hmm
now.
It's
Hey
actually
now.
one word. It's a name. But yeah.
It's
Very much so. It'll be, I feel like it will be Mariah May. Even though she's been in the spotlight for so long, it doesn't feel
right.
like she's been champion for so short of a time.
Right.
Yeah.
Because she's
Yeah.
been in the
Because
spotlight
she was there with
with
Tony while
Tony
Tony
Storm the
was.
entire
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
So I'm not I it's not far-fetched to think she loses it because of how much she's had as far as
Yeah.
notoriety and, like, being out there in front of people to see and then maybe come back for it.
hmm
Or maybe Stat
Could be.
botches or Stat messes up and, like, actually helps Willow win by accident.
Right.
Right. Right.
And then that starts a Statlander Mariah May thing where Mariah turns face.
I wouldn't mind that actually. That
Right.
wouldn't that wouldn't
Or
that
I
wouldn't
mean,
hurt my
Willow could
feelings at
even
all.
win. Willow could win, and that would justify the Statlander
Mhm.
turn.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she could go
Yeah.
right into messing with
Facing
Willow
her.
for the title. Yeah.
Giving them
Be
There's a
both
lot of
good.
something to
different ways
do.
it
I
could
think they
go.
both fight each other well. They both do.
Yeah.
They both have
It's
good.
a
They have good ring chemistry together.
it's
Definitely.
AEW, and they'll probably go a completely different route than what we're even thinking.
Yeah,
Because nothing makes sense in AEW.
Yeah.
I suppose so. Oh, okay. Last one. Okay, this is the last one of this very long card. It
Yeah.
is. It's
57
unofficially
matches.
it's unofficially title for his career because it doesn't say it on it. But Brian Danielson has already talked about taking a step back and probably not being a full timer anymore and taking more of
Right.
a background
And where better to do it
position.
than in your home state?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's looking like he might have his last hurrah there, and he'll probably be able to do one of those crazy spots where he always wants to be choked by something.
Yeah. Well, Moxley will definitely do it.
Yeah. Moxley will
So
choke him
it's
with his.
AEW.
Yeah.
Yep. AEW title. I think we already know, but AEW title match: Brian Danielson, the champion, against challenger John Moxley,
I'm going
and
with Dean
I
Ambrose.
will,
Yeah.
AKA
Moxley's
Dean
winning.
Ambrose.
Yeah.
It's like
Big
Moxley
Mox.
looks awfully like
Definitely
Dean,
John Moxley. I think John Moxley wins.
Yeah.
and retires Danielson.
Yep.
Yeah. And he gets to have his big moment
Mm.
saying goodbye in Washington. And
Yep.
yeah.
Hmm.
Maybe
Well,
Brie will come out and give him a kiss.
Yep. I
maybe
can see that happening though,
it's
man. Like
just
it'd be kind
Bring
of
out the
cool.
kid. Bring out the
it
kid.
seems so weird
Freaking
though. If I'm being honest, it seems so weird. It doesn't seem like they're making the right decision if they take it off of him right now. I understand. I understand that it's at home,
yeah.
but it seems so quick considering that I feel like he just won it against Swerve.
Well, I mean
Right.
that's another thing.
He
Like
did. Yeah.
I think that they did that just to get the Swerve Strickland Adam Page thing
Right.
Yeah, and
a
it's
lot of
bigger than
meaning
the
to it.
title,
So
the
Oh,
Swerve
speaking
and
of Swerve,
Hangman
he's
thing.
supposed to be coming back, right, on this
yeah,
show. They're
yes,
not saying what
he's
he's doing, but he's supposed to be
right.
coming back on this show.
Does he take a back seat to Lashley, or does Lashley take a back seat to him?
Or does he just come in and help John Moxley win and do a heel turn?
Hey
Ooh.
now. Hey now.
So, what you
That,
said? Swerve beat up Danielson in
Yeah.
Washington.
Hey.
Ooh, that would
hey,
make him the biggest heel in the world.
yes, it
Isn't
Yeah.
would.
he just about to be?
Hey, if I was Swerve Strickland, that's what I'd want to
Yeah.
do.
That would be a total swerve. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It would.
It could be like when
He
I
should
was
be.
posting my sober chips on the internet, but still out getting drunk. None of you supported me.
Yeah. Why won't you support me?
Yeah.
I think it'll be interesting if he loses in front of his hometown, but I think if
Yeah.
anybody were to do that and to have a passing of the torch, I feel like it would be against John, and I feel like it would
Yeah.
be Brian. So yeah, if that happens, which I feel like should, because um Brian Danielson already fought Nigel, so he got that off
Hmm.
his list. He's already
Yeah.
fought Okada. He's done his dream matches. He's fought Osprey. There's
Right.
pretty much not much else for him to accomplish at this point. And yeah, I would have preferred if maybe it was another card, maybe 2, 3 months later. But if
Hmm.
this
Yeah.
is, if this is his decision, which I imagine it would be, the retirement of somebody who's been in the game this long, I imagine they'd give him the choice to choose where he drops it.
Right. I
Yeah.
mean, Triple H literally said that John Cena is booking his retirement tour. Like
Oh
he's earned the
yeah, and
freedom to do whatever he wants, and I'm sure that
Hmm.
Brian Danielson is in a similar position. You know.
Oh
and
yeah,
I'm
for sure.
calling
So,
it. It's gonna be Rock Cena or no, it's gonna be Rock Punk Orton. I feel like those are the three last Cena matches.
yeah, it's too bad about Triple H's heart, dude, because I think everybody would like to see Triple H and John Cena do something one last time, but or Rocky
Oh,
and
not
John
more than
Cena.
those other three.
Yeah, yeah, true. Or I meant to
The
say
most
Rocky and
iconic,
Triple H.
yeah. I say the
Yeah.
most iconic John Cena rivalries would have to be
Oh, sure.
maybe him and Kurt or him and Brock, but specifically Punk, Rocky, Orton.
Yeah,
Those three,
Hmm.
I think it has to
yeah,
be. Maybe in that order. Maybe in that order. Just to give the respect to the fact that Cena and Orton came up in the same like class together.
right. Sure, sure,
Yeah.
sure.
And him and Brock and Batista, which is wild considering.
Right. I'd like
Yeah.
to
That
Yeah,
see.
so that's
that was a
Yeah,
stacked training class that
yeah,
came out of there.
mhm.
there was so many freaking so many matches on that AEW card too. Jeez.
There are
Yeah.
so many, but I'm glad we got past it because probably
It's funny because I looked at that card and I knew it was an AEW card, but then my mind blanked, and for some reason I thought it was an independent card. I think from when we were
well,
talking about it
if you think
earlier
about it,
before we went on the air.
AEW pretty much is independent. If you think about
Yeah,
it, considering how many
yeah,
different like they'll have a AAA, they'll have all of these different people come up and big indie
yeah,
stars, and it's just. But that's what it's always been. It's always been the indie haven. It was
right.
built by indie guys for indie guys.
Hmm.
Thing
Yeah,
is,
Speaking,
though, it's being run by somebody who has a Vince mentality.
yeah.
yeah.
Speaking of indie,
Oh
Keith,
man,
you're up
Eric
this week.
Academia, baby. Okay, so our indie wrestling spotlight wrestler this week is Eric Academia. She's out of North Carolina, trained at the Palmetto Wrestling Academy under Ethan Case. If you don't know who Ethan Case is great.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that Erica is a second generation superstar. She started training, I believe, when she was like 13 years old.
Yeah.
And then she sustained like a pretty serious injury and had to take some time off, but came back and trained even harder. And the cool thing about Erica is her social media presence, the way that she's marketed herself. Even while she was training, she had a Patreon where people
Mm-hmm.
could pay to watch her train and watch her progress. She had vlogs on YouTube where tons of people were tuning in and learning about her, and fans were invested in Ericademia before she even stepped foot in a ring as a trained professional wrestler. The fact that she trained for 5 years basically and grew up in the business, she came out miles ahead of most young wrestlers. She's 2 years in, and it's like I think she just started her second year, and
Right.
she's phenomenal. I mean,
Oh, she
honestly,
is.
she's won belts. She's wrestled in multiple states. Not only that, but her dad was kind of like a grizzled veteran down in North Carolina, and she's brought him along with her. Like he's got a completely new gimmick now where he's like, a fantasy warrior along with her. So it's really cool that she also elevated her dad, and she gives him tons of credit for helping her navigate and create this persona. But few people come out of training school as a fully developed wrestler, and I really think she did. Like she continues to get better, but she was already so good from her first match. And she's special. She's a special wrestler, man.
And
So
she's a cutie.
she is a little cutie, yeah. And she's
Yeah,
always
she has a
doing
great.
waifu stuff. She's always
Yep.
doing waifu stuff.
Her persona
So
is fantastic. I just
yeah,
love her to death. Like she's gonna be a megastar. Like
yeah,
she's just gonna be one of those wrestlers that has it all because she. I've seen some of her stuff. She can cut a killer promo. She
yep.
has a killer persona, like I said, and yeah, the girl's gonna go to the
Yeah, I
moon,
forgot to mention in her rookie year, like only a few months in, she got her match on AEW.
and she's
And she
so
did
young.
really, really well. Yeah, she just turned
Yeah, she was
19, I think.
wrestling in high school. She was
Yeah,
wrestling
Yeah,
in high school already. Like
yeah,
she already had
yeah,
some following and
yeah.
was on
She's pretty
some
amazing, man.
articles.
Right.
Yeah, we always love
But
to
yeah,
give some love to the indies over here because
oh,
that's
absolutely.
absolutely.
where we
Absolutely.
all start. It's the reason why we have such a love for the Seth Rollinses and the CM Punks. It's
Yeah,
just that it's that beautiful story that is a wrestler's career. Who would have thought Brian Danielson would have the career he does, or
Right.
same with
the fact
John
that
Moxley.
you can't make that, you
Yeah.
can't make stuff like that up. The fact that, CM Punk retired, went to the other company and then came back, just being able to talk about this is the stuff that I'm going to be telling my kids one day. It's not going to be
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, this was the music going on. It's like, no, this is Bray Wyatt. This is
Right.
what
Yeah,
Right.
he
Right.
did. He's awesome. This
yep,
Yeah.
is, Chris Jericho. This is Chris Jericho with a clipboard. That clipboard's awesome.
Right.
That's his ficus. His
yeah,
I love that. I love that plant now. That
Yeah.
plant was an industry plant also. It was planted there.
Oh
yep.
man.
Hmm. Otherwise,
So
I
So
think
I'm
we
working.
did a good job with that.
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
so I've got something in the works. I'm gonna go ahead
Okay.
and give a spoiler alert.
All
So
right. What do we got?
maybe I'm not. It's not confirmed yet, but maybe next Friday we will have Mister
Oh no,
Anderson on the
Yes,
show.
sir.
that was a little better of
Yes,
a
sir.
call than I thought.
Oh, I
Good
do it
job.
real
Good job on
good
that
when
call.
I'm not on mic.
Yeah,
But yeah, so
Minnesota's finest, Green Bay, Wisconsin's finest.
Yes,
Indeed.
I am super excited. I reached out to him, and hopefully he will respond to me sometime today or tomorrow to make it official, and we will.
And he did say that if he didn't have a booking, he would be here. So
Yes. He said if he's not don't have a booking, he would be here.
yeah. So before we hop off, we had so many people tune in. Um Zohir Ahmed, professional wrestling belt creator, tuned in from Indonesia.
Oh wow,
Uh
yeah,
Anthony
appreciate it.
Rick tuned in. Um DJ Master Dan, who is actually a part of the Kish Radio family, tuned in from Lubbock, Texas. Jimmy D719, who is a YouTube gamer, influencer, and commentator for Steel City Wrestling,
Shout out.
tuned in. Yeah, so I mean, we got a bunch of cool people checking stuff out for us this week. We also want to talk about some upcoming independent wrestling shows on October 12th. Fortune favors the bold uh, at the cross country fairgrounds. It looks like in Denver, North Carolina.
Yeah,
Interesting. All right.
There's a Denver, North
Duke,
Carolina. Okay.
apparently so. Duke City Championship Wrestling, Brute 666 will be having a Halloween night costume contest and wrestling event, I would assume, at the Rest in Peace Rancho Event Center. Doors open at 6. I'm not really seeing a date for that one, but hopefully you can track it down. December 7th, we've got the Hillside Community Center in Colorado Springs. Glorious
CWC.
CWC Glorious Purpose Pro Wrestling. And as of right now, the Duke City Championship Wrestling show is Halloween night. All right. And as of right now, we have 175 plays on our live show. But don't forget, you can always go back and listen to this on demand. We will also be doing a simulcast. I'm trying to find all this information here, guys. Sorry. Simulcast on Monday. You will also be able to check us out on Spotify. Just do a quick search for Roundtable Wrestling. The Rio Rancho event is also a televised event.
oh sweet, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And we definitely want to thank Kitsch Radio and Jay Sizzle for the opportunity to do this.
Yes.
We are growing monstrously because of being able to do this live podcast. So I'm very excited about that. I think we're all very excited about that.
Oh
and
yeah.
the last thing, if anybody wants to sponsor Roundtable Wrestling, you can help us grow and help us stay on the air for Kish Radio. You can just contact me, I guess. Just look up Keith P. Miller on Facebook. I'm in Connorsville, Indiana, or Pablo Aquino or Brent Ward. Contact any of us. Will be tagged when we share this. And just hit us up and let us know. Let us know that you want to sponsor us.
Yeah.
You guys got anything else to say before we head out?
Voice.
Oh, shout out to the homie squad from New Mexico.
All right, we got people in New Mexico listening to us, fellas. We're international. Indonesia? Heck yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to shout out indie wrestlers, and I'd like to say let's support our indie promotions because you never know where the next superstar is going to come from. So show some love. You can be one of those wonderful people to say, hey, I remember seeing him at a random AWA match or a random HOG match and stuff like, it's a beautiful time to be a wrestling fan. So do your due diligence, watch, get your family to watch, get your friends to watch. If you don't have friends that watch, find friends that watch. It's a beautiful
shout out to Pro Wrestling Conquest as well.
Absolutely. And I also want to give a shout out to Tyler Martin and MB Studios, who will be getting this podcast ready for Spotify. And for all of the fans who stuck with us through our technical difficulties, that will not be happening from now on. We will be going on at 2 o'clock every week right here on Kish Radio. You can find us on TuneIn. And yeah, we will be here bringing you guys good wrestling talk. You know, we'll bring you the news, and we'll also bring you some personality and just having a lot of fun. Pablo, you want to go ahead and take us out here, brother?
Yeah. I'd say for Keith the Wildman Miller, who was gracious enough to be both moderator and host, for Brent Nightmare Ward, and me, myself, Pablo Aquino, I would say thank you for listening to us. Continue to look out for us. We will be doing it on a weekly basis. And watch your TV, eat your vitamins, say your prayers, and make sure that you check us out and be back with us next Friday, hopefully with a guest. Otherwise, there'll be our 3 wonderful voices here to see you through your wrestling week. Otherwise,
right.
From us and Kish Radio, we say bid you adieu and happy watching.